into a tongue twister dealing with these issues, because I can't be in a situation where I'm saying trans woman cyclist Emily Bridges says that she wants to be able to compete against women cyclists, because then, well, why would you queer it? The key issue here is, and this is nothing against Emily Bridges, and this is nothing against anyone who wants to live their life as a different sex from the one that they actually were born to, but Emily Bridges was born a biological male, remains a biological male, but is living life as a woman and wants to compete on the women's cycling circuit and has been allowed to do so. But Emily Bridges says that Emily is not asking for any extra special treatment. But this is special treatment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably the thing that annoyed me the most about the interview, was that you're not asking for any special treatment, and you are absolutely asking for special treatment, because Emily Bridges has never been stopped from competing. It's very frustrating when the mainstream media use the words banned, because Emily Bridges is not banned at all. Emily Bridges can race in the men's category whenever, has always raced in the men's category, was racing in the men's category earlier this year very successfully, and so therefore can carry on racing in the men's category. As you mentioned, if you are a trans woman, the word trans is in the title, which means that you are transitioning, you have transitioned, you wish to identify with the opposite gender than the one you actually are, which means that Emily Bridges is male. Now, there's no peer-reviewed studies in the world that shows that you can mitigate or remove all male puberty advantage, which means that you're asking female athletes to compete with somebody who has an unfair advantage. Yeah. And we're not asking that of male athletes. We're only asking female athletes.
No, this isn't an issue.
Not male athletes.
It's an issue because we haven't got a whole bunch of women who now want to live as men saying, yeah, I want to compete against men. This is the thing.
They don't do that, Julia.
No, exactly. Emily Bridges is no more banned from cycling against women than Jason Kenny is banned from cycling against his wife Laura Kenny. I mean, this is reality. These are different races. I mean, this is the crucial thing. I know you've done a lot of research into this, and you were competing in swimming at a time when we had a whole load of East European, particularly East German athletes who were competing, who were drugged up to their eyeballs, and they were victims as much as anyone else. Frankly, they were forced to do it, a lot of them, where they had this incredible sort of testosterone steroid advantage. These were women, biological women, who were basically given male sort of sex hormone advantages, which basically stole a load of medals from people like you and other women competing fairly. But this is even more unfair, because even someone who has taken any drugs they want to take to reduce their testosterone, like Emily Bridges, and live as a woman, tell us the advantages they still have, no matter what, simply because they've been born men.
I mean, that's why I'm so vocal about this, because I did live through that period. It did affect me, but it affected a lot of my friends as well. I had friends that were fourth behind 3 East Germans, and no one has ever remembered their names, and their whole lives would have been different. It's a shameful period of history where the IOC did absolutely nothing to defend clean sport. So my conscience just won't let me sit back and let it happen again. And all the paperwork and the documentation proved that the East German system could put young girls through male puberty and give them a 9% advantage. And in the Olympic Games in 1980, where I won my medal, they took 90% of the women's medals and they took 5% of the men's. It was incredibly obvious, and nothing was ever done. Yeah. And I just can't sit back and let it happen again. And we have an even bigger difference between male and female. So at Olympic level, it's between 10 and 30%. The more explosive an event is, like weightlifting, 30%. The less explosive event, middle distance running, sort of 10%. Cycling is somewhere in the middle. It sort of varies a little bit.
But even just things like being with male hips, not female hips, you've got a better chance on cycling fast. You've got the power, you've got the muscle memory, you've got the testosterone.
You also have a thing called a Q angle. So a Q angle is the difference between your hips and your knees, and a female pelvis is very different. We have a different shape because we're made to give birth. Yeah. So the angle is much deeper, and therefore we are prone to a lot more injury.
And then just an inbuilt advantage. I mean, this is just fundamentally, it is not about hating trans people or wanting anyone to be abused, anything like that.
Everybody should have access to sport. Sport is really important.
It's about fairness, though. It's about a level playing field.
I'm sorry?
It's just about fairness, a level playing field.
Yeah, it's just about fairness. It's just about equal opportunities of success in sport for people that are born female. That's it in a nutshell. Yeah. And it's not anti-trans in any shape or form. We should make sure that everybody can do sport. Again, what's frustrating, you talked just a little bit about trans men who are like biologically female. We had trans men competing at the NC2As, where we saw Leah Thomas competing, and we had binary identifying females competing at the Olympic Games. They all choose to compete in the women's category. So if they can compete in the women's category and identify as men, then trans women can identify as women and compete in the men's category.
And that's where we get to it. It's just about fairness, folks. It really, really is. There's nothing more complicated than that. I don't understand why people get it. Sharon Davis, by the huge thanks to you.